All right, welcome to Digging for Wisdom, week 3 of the playoffs. That's Professor Diggs. I'm the Wizard. We are getting ready to play football after Thanksgiving. It's one of the many milestones these coaches have and players throughout the season. Win your district. If you can't do it, make the playoffs. If you can't do that, or if you can do that, play after Thanksgiving. Everybody we're talking about today, unless Diggs is going to take some shots at some teams, is playing after Thanksgiving. So load up on your leftovers after Thanksgiving. Right now, we're before Thanksgiving, so get that stuff prepared, man. Get the butterball going, all that stuff. What do you make over there at the Diggs house? You make anything special that nobody else knows about?
I've been getting into this new protein pasta. I don't know if you've ever had the protein pasta, but
Okay.
it's like this. It's noodles, but it's made with different things. And all of a sudden, it is like loaded with protein. I think it's great. So you get some macaroni and cheese, get a little bit of extra cheese, get a little bit of extra noodles. You get to be big and strong like some of these Prosper linemen. That's what I aim for. Got
The
to be
old
like a
Prosper
Prosper
lineman.
lineman.
Yeah, those guys. Well, they're playing at 7, but the ones that stay playing at 2, man, they got to have that Thanksgiving dinner at like 11 a.m. the other morning, so we can get that all out the system. Get ready to play some football on Friday morning. We all got a ton of games to go to too, man. So I think you're going to 4. I'm actually on the Houston beat this week, so I'm going to go to, well, Waxahachie counts as DFW, doesn't it? Of course it does. They're playing
So does
Cy Reds.
40.
So does Forney. I won't be at that one, unfortunately. I wish I could, though. That's going to be a special one. We'll talk about that one later. Uh, Dixie, what do you want to talk about from last week? Because last week we had some solid wins, no really huge upsets here in our area, at least. We went out to Abilene, went 4-0, so I guess they're not going to invite us back out there. And congrats to Arlington Heights, making it to the third round since the 1970s. That's awesome.
Now, I want to make this as a metaphor. You're going to be the metaphor, unfortunately, so you're going to be the target of my abuse. But you weren't the only one who said this. I got a lot of social media feedback on this as well. But I also got some social media feedback about how I was right. And I think this week actually showed that. We talked about style points last week, Ward, and you're very much the win in advance. You're just like, hey, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. You're playing. That's all that matters. And you kind of gave me the little dig that, what are you going to say if Southlake wins the state championship? And it
Yeah.
wasn't impressive enough
Riley
at
Dad's
the end
like,
of the
dog,
day.
gummit. I'm this ring is
Diggs,
real nice, but week 1, I really wish we would have won by 42.
man, Diggs picked us to win the state championship by 14, and we only won by 2. What are we going to do with this? It's
Give
just
these rings back.
disappointing. Got to
Right.
give them back. But you know what? You look at what happened this week. Every team I called out to a T showed up this week, and some I heard some internal noise that was a motivating factor. That hey, he might actually have a little bit of something to this point. If this past week Duncanville beat Rockwell Heath like 43-6 or something similar to that, would you have felt better if that game was 7-6 or 7-3? No, you feel good about Duncanville because of that point spread, because of the way they played, because of the dominance with that. When you look at Southlake Carroll, I feel a lot better about Carroll now that they put up 700 yards against San Angelo Central. They said, okay, we're going to show you that next level. Every single team I called out showed me the style points, including Denton Ryan, to where I've turned that Denton Ryan Richland game from who's going to win, is it going to be Denton Ryan or is it going to be Richland, to a basically a dress rehearsal for Alito. Can Denton Ryan show me enough against Richland to where I can have the confidence because I want to? Ward, I want to pick him against Alito. Can they show me that style points again? Style points matter in how you play, the level of intensity that you're playing. All of the good teams right now got to be putting away the
But
teams
what
that
about
are
what they've
inferior.
done in the past? I feel like you're still doing a week to week thing like you used to do it. Well, I'm going to give them the shovel wit this week. Oh, wait, I'm going to bring them back with flowers next week. That ten games that they put in their back pocket, they've had to have proven something to you to the point where, okay, Southlake only won 35-0. I don't know about them. I'm worried about them. What about the previous 10 games? We're just going to toss them out? They've shown us who they are. So,
At
and then they,
times, but
so 11 out of 12 games, they've done
look
everything
at
that you
how
needed to see.
Alito played the first 3 or 4 weeks of district. It was 30-40-7. All of a sudden, they change quarterbacks. It gets to 70-80. There's a big difference there. So yeah, that matters. And then kind of look how Denton Ryan played earlier in the season. They lost Trayvon Reynolds early. He got injured. He's back. They beat a state-ranked team 59-0. That gets all that matters. So yes, they can kind of absolve that 30-21, what I call a blemish against Richland this week. They can show me that, okay, we're ready for Aledo, and they got to play. They got to play at a high level to beat a team like Aledo,
So
who's
what
just
will show
looking
you in that
absolutely
game? What will show you that? Tell me what the score.
49-6, 49-6,
49-6 has to be
49-13.
it.
I got to look for a dominant win because they're a team that's not going to put up 70 or 80. It's just, the
Right.
style of football they play. Aledo plays a different style of football, and I know that. So when they win 70 to 80 to 12, it's a different kind of a 70 to 80 to 12. And
So if
I
it's
think
49-20, we're saying forget everything that happened in the first 10 weeks because of what you did against Richland. Yeah, I
yes,
know you play Aledo twice and you prepare for Aledo a different way than you prepare for everybody else. But since you only won 49-20, I give you no chance against Aledo. Is that
pretty
is that
much.
how we're doing it? All right.
That's how.
Well, I'm not doing it that way still. So you can still come at me with that. I
That's
still
why I'm
say
beating you in Pick'em, though, Ward. That's why I'm beating
well,
you in Pick'em.
everybody's going to beat me and pick them. You're pulling stuff out of stuff that doesn't even make no difference.
It
All
does
right.
make a difference. It's how you are right now. It shows me who you are going to be next week. I mean, I want to see, obviously, your first 10 weeks matter, Ward, but where you are right now is going to be indicative of how you're going to do in the next week. What you did in week 1 or week 2 doesn't really matter to how you're going to be this week. We see it all the time
I don't
when
think what
teams play
means
each other twice. The team that lost wins the second time. It happens every year around this time.
and I say how you played 1 week before doesn't matter what's going on next week. It's the week of preparation and how you get yourself together and what plays you come up with defenses you come out. How are you going to stop Aledo scoring 70 if you've only stopped Richland with 20? I don't know. I'm not playing that game. I'm going to say it's still going to be a close game regardless. And I'm just
You're right.
because you're
You
beating me in
have the
pick'em.
right to be wrong. It's okay. You have the right to be wrong.
Let's go through the brackets before you get me riled up and I shut this whole thing down. You want to?
If Georgetown beat
Oh, brother.
some
We only beat
Division three
Wagner by
school
17 and we're
by
favored by
if you
30. I'm
beat
not saying the
Wagner
season's over.
Wagner by 1 on a last minute 3-pointer,
It's
isn't
not
that a
even
different thing?
it
Isn't
is
that
a different thing, but
it's
it's
a
not
different thing?
equivalent to what the heck's
It's
going on with
exactly equivalent.
Southlake winning by 35 over Crowley. That's
That
not
wasn't
equivalent to
good.
Georgetown by 1.
Wasn't good.
That's where you sit down at dinner and Riley says to his kids, man, I wish we would have won by 49. Anyway, we advanced, and you kids can still come out to my game because we're still killing these squads, whether we win by 35 or 49 or 70 to 1 or whatever it was last week. I'm
Let's see
done
what
with
it
you,
was.
Diggs. Let's. Here we go. Are you ready? Let's do
I'm
it.
ready.
All right. Let's start off with Division 1, Region 1, where we saw North Crowley played probably the last game in DFW. So they continued. They also traveled out to Abilene together, kick everybody's butt, and headed on back. But they took care of Mansfield or Midland Legacy easily. Capel, a lot easier time than I thought they'd have with Richardson. I did think they were going to win. I didn't think it was going to be that easy. 38-7. Kudos to Lake Ridge. They gave it a heck of a season after being 1-9 last season, losing on a field goal late in the game. But now they get to face those Allen Eagles.
Again, I'm only going to hammer this point because it's kind of going to generate into the next point about North Crowley. If this game was 30-17, North Crowley beat Midland Legacy, the bracket on the right is still going to be the same as it would. But now I'm going to be a lot more worried about North Crowley. I'm going to see more flaws. I'm going to see more holes, and I'm sure Coppell is going to be seeing more things like, okay, well, if Midland Legacy's defense was able to hold them to 30, I think we could see some things. There's calibration there. But North Crowley came out and was dominant against Midland Legacy from start to finish. But same thing you can say about Coppell. They were dominant against Richardson from start to finish. That was a no-brainer game. Coppell just dominated them. It's like they took what I said last week and they fast-forwarded it because that defense was so incredible last week. But the problem with Coppell is that when they play these games against teams that are, really good, what I call the infrastructure, the offensive line, defensive line, the physicality, Denton Geyer is really the only team they played this year that had that advantage over them, and it was ugly. They beat them up, and they beat them up on both sides of the ball. And North Crowley has got that similar level of offensive line, defensive line with Turrentine and those really good linebackers for North Crowley. So I don't think that Coppell is going to be competitive in the line. And when you got a sophomore quarterback who you're asking to make plays, it gets bad really quickly. It kind of reminds me of Louisville, how they got 6 turnovers against Coppell because Coppell on the lines was making plays and forcing mistakes, and Louisville couldn't overcome that. North Crowley is going to be a big favorite in this game. This game was close last year. I think it's going to be ugly this year.
Yeah. down in Midlothian on Saturday too. I'm looking forward to, and I don't want to push the cart ahead of the horse, but obviously North Crowley Allen, because I'd like to see both quarterbacks go at it. It's the same type of quarterback, but different. What am I looking for? Different guts. Allen's Jeremiah Dowd can see guys open for a little bit, but he doesn't really trust it going deep. Whereas North Crowley's Cloutier, he'll throw it deep because he knows he's got their sophomore playmakers out there. And yes, he will get picked off from time to time, but he'll also get big plays out of it as well. So that'll be interesting if it goes on. I mean, I think we both agree Allen's going to take care of Permian. They already played one 6-6A team and didn't do very well. So why don't we start the season with one and end with another?
I actually got a little bit of private message feedback from Odessa Permian fans who thought it was very disrespectful that we just kind of dismiss them the way they did. I guess they're going to be the Amarillo Tascosa of this year, and they're going to be like, well, we deserve a little bit of respect. Okay, Mojo's got the name value. I mean, but again, beating Lake Ridge by 2, losing to Plano, the pedigree is not there. When you look at the games against the Metroplex teams, the pedigree isn't there. I think Odessa Permian is going to have a long week against Allen. I mean, Allen their offense is not going to be able to consistently move the ball. I think 14 is kind of their ceiling. So then can their defense keep Allen under 14? They couldn't keep Lake Ridge under 14. So I think it's just going to get ugly. I think Allen by 45 is kind of the early point spread that I'm thinking with this. It's going to be second teamers very frequently in the fourth quarter, which kind of just looking ahead a little bit. North Crowley Allen. This is a game where as of right now, I don't know who I'm going to pick in North Crowley and Allen. That's why I need to see what your resume is going to be this week. Because, you can say all these things about the past and the past 11 weeks. I haven't figured it out. So it's going to be the recency bias of what you can do this week is going to let me think, okay, can North Crowley, Allen, where's the holes? What are the coaches seeing? That's going to be a big determiner for who wins the region.
Now, see, I can buy you on that one. I can buy what you're saying there because you're saying throughout those 11 games, you haven't really put your finger on what kind of squad North Crowley is in big games. But it's when you're directly saying somebody's this way, and then the next week because they didn't win by that way, okay, now I'm definitely saying they're this way. That's where I don't jump on board with you. And that game's in Abilene, so we can already chalk that one up to a DFW win. Way to go, Allen. You got the win. All right, let's move on to 6A Division I Region 2. Duncanville did not win 7-6. They won 43-6, and Trenton Yancey was all over the place. Last game of the playoffs, I believe, was Klein Collins in the Woodlands Saturday night. Klein Collins got that win, and then Waxahachie's taking on Cy Ranch. I feel like, producing both of these shows, I feel like 11-6A moves on, but I think Klein Collins is going to give Duncanville a little bit more than some might think, and they have taken some hard games against Houston teams in this round in the past. Spring Westfield played around with them one of the 3 years they played them, and Woodlands last year. I think Klein Collins is going to give them a little bit of a game, and they'll pull away in the second half.
I think one thing that people appreciate about me is I can be honest and I can say, when I don't know a lot about something, I can say I don't know a lot about something. And Klein Collins and Cypress Ranch are going to be two teams I don't know much about. So let's give a little bit of game day IHSS, talk a little bit about where they might be able to watch a podcaster who does know about both sides of the ball and how they can see it. Because I think people would actually appreciate that. I don't think we have.
Yeah, that's true. Especially
we
when
talk about the Houston side of the podcasting world much on this show. I mean, we refer to it, you and Step do this but Step's seen all these teams. I've seen half of these teams, and I'm just going to tell you 11-6A traditionally wins these games. I can't tell you the last time a Houston area team, Bridgeland beat Waxahachie last year, but that was a not elite Waxahachie team. And that was a Bridgeland team that was, I think most people could reasonably see that coming. This year, you got two elite teams. I mean, obviously, Waxahachie beat Duncanville earlier this year. So I'm thinking this is just going to be a blowout for both of these teams. You said Klein Collins has got a little bit of something, but where can they see the Houston version of this podcast? When is it released?
So this is Wednesday, so you already missed it. But you can go back on YouTube because our Houston High School Huddle is what it's called. Look up that on YouTube. Look on our Inside High School Sports Houston version of on Twitter. You'll see a link there to me and Matt Stepp break down the Houston area, which The Houston area seems to dwindle a lot quicker than the DFW area. I wonder why that is. And the way Diggs claims teams, he may start claiming some of these Houston teams as Dallas anyway. So we don't know what's going on. But Matt Stepp and I do that, and yeah, I think both of us in that are going to say it's going to be a tough uphill climb, especially after watching the Indians' defense against North Forney, where they were absolutely terrific in that game. You're going to give up a big play to Legend Bay every once in a while, but he made him caused 4 turnovers. He coughed it up 4 times, and they making big hits all over the place. And that was out without Jaquan Snell doing anything really significant. It was Tollison. It was the young DB Calderon at an interception and a big hit as well. I don't know. Cy Ranch has played in a district in District 16 6A. They got good teams, but they don't have Waxahachie good. And they lost their non-district teams. They went 1-2 in that. They lost to a Houston Memorial team that just got beat by Katy 50-6 or something like that. I can't remember what the score was. It was a bad beating. And they got to play them on their own home field as well, and they lost to them earlier in the season. I don't feel like Cy Ranch has the kind of offense that can score on wax, but the Klein Collins, I feel like they can go toe to toe for a half, and then they're going to bow out.
But we also learned last week that you do not know where Grand Oaks is. So
that is true. He told me
not
I could lie, and
I
straight up lied to him. He told me I could lie. Anytime somebody tells me I can lie, I'm going to jump on it. Boy,
it's like 2 truths and a lie.
That's going to get me a date, isn't it?
And officially, nobody knows where Grand Oak is because it's in unincorporated Texas. Right there, unincorporated Texas.
Unincorporated. Interesting.
There's a lot of unincorporated areas of Houston. I've learned in going down there. A lot of like all these Cypresses and Fort Ben's. None of them are actually in Houston, or some of them are. It's a whole different world in Houston because there's so much of Houston that's not Houston ISD, whereas most of Dallas is Dallas ISD, with the exception of a little part of North Dallas and the Highland Park, Park Cities area. Just make it make sense, Houston.
They always stick. That's why they stick that greater in front of it. Oh, I'm from the greater Houston area, meaning it's a wide compass out there. All right, let's go Division II, Region 1. Byron Nelson's taking on Geyer, and Southlake Carroll's taking on Prosper. I hear Geyer, they were going to flip, and Geyer said, you know what, I'll play at Byron Nelson as long as we don't have to play on Saturday. And so they're like, or we'll play at Northwest ISD if we don't have to play on Saturday. They agreed to it. Geyer's going in pretty confident the way they've been playing. I mean, they're up 44-0 on Jesuit and let them get a couple cheapies. Their run game is being dominant, but the one we should start off is at the bottom half there. Southlake Carroll, Prosper. We've been talking about this game since like week 7. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be the nightcap at Choctaw, so everybody should be out there for that one.
There are there's an error there, so you can type it. You can correct it while I'm talking. It's my fault. It says Southlake SA Central. You can.
I got you.
I care. I've made that change 3 times on my own spreadsheet. For whatever reason, this is ChatGPT loves to do its crazy things. But this game has so many interesting storylines that I've been fascinated about trying to figure out. I'm trying to find the edge. Like what are these coaches going to think about? And a couple of the things that I'm thinking about, I've seen this with Prosper. Prosper's coaches try to find something. They kind of get into that rock wall scheme where they're going to try to do something, a formation. They've been practicing it, and they're going to give it to you. And at some point, sometimes in the year, I've questioned, why does Prosper do these crazy things? Like, why are they, why are they just not running behind their offensive line and just doing that? And now, maybe it's for these games, because right now I think most people would agree that Southlake Carroll is a favorite in this game. I think that the offensive side of the ball is great on both, but you're talking about the people who are going to Ohio State, who are the really big commits, who are the playmakers. It's Southlake Carroll's side. Southlake, the Prosper's got the D1 offensive linemen, but Imhoff and Robinson, not really big on the D1 offers left and right, like with Boyd and Renda. So you got Southlake Carroll, who has got an elite level offense, who has just been kind of coasting through the year. Prosper has a great offense, but I've wondered who their identity is at times, and their coaches are doing crazy things. So it's like now you look at the defensive side of the ball. How good is Southlake Carroll's defense? I think there are some questions about that. Are they as good as Allen's defense? At least on paper, I don't think they're as good as Allen's defense. So I think Prosper, their offense is going to be able to put up points against Southlake Carroll. But you know what? I thought that 3 years ago, and Southlake Carroll gave Byron Nelson the donut after that game, after they had won that game earlier in the year. So Southlake Carroll has that kind of that extra level that when they can get up on you and just completely demoralize you. So I think this is going to be a shootout. So will Riley Dodge actually play this game conservatively? Like, will he play this game that we're the better team, we're going to be, I'm not going to have to do crazy things? Or is he going to throw a wrinkle in there? Is he going to maybe outthink himself? Because you know Prosper is going to throw a wrinkle or two in there. So can Prosper, are those wrinkles going to work? That's Prosper's game plan, I think, to win this game. Have those 2 or 3 wrinkles, got to play turnover free ball, and maybe get one. If you can do all of that, I think Prosper could win that one-score game. I think Southlake Carroll, just kind of base level, is the better team. So I think they're the one-score favorite as long as they don't make mistakes. And I like the fact that last year they got that, they lost in the state championship, but that is key experience that they needed to weather these storms when they haven't really played a meaningful game in 10 weeks. They can kind of reach back to that muscle memory of how good they did last year and that experience. And I think Carroll's just got too much of it. And I think this is kind of where Prosper ends their season every year. This is where Carroll goes to that next level. I think Carroll's going to win this game by a score.
You know, you said 2 things in there that I want a certain proud grandmother to be paying attention to as she's watching this. Said coach it through the league and go back to when they were playing tough competition and get back in there. We will have this game on our air, and we will have it as the first game on the show. So just to calm any proud grandmothers down, Southlake will be on there. We know what they're doing. I just can't go out there and show a poor team called San Andrew Central only putting up 7 points and getting bombed out. I feel like I was bullying somebody. What do you think about the top half there, Byron Nelson against Geyer?
This is a weird situation. Denton Geyer is a team that has gotten this far that I don't know who Denton Geyer is. I know they are really tough on the lines. I remember you giving me the business about Zane Rowe 14 weeks ago, talking about what an incredible guy he is and how what a playmaker he is on both sides of the ball. And that has really turned out to be true. But I read their box scores every week, and it's like, who's their quarterback? What is their identity? It kind of reminds me of Alito.
Kind of looks like they gave up on Zephyr, right? They kind of
have they? Because I mean, he's still in there at 6 of the 16 throws. And Carter Morgan is running the ball. So
I don't like people using 2 quarterbacks, especially this late in the year. Not this late.
It's not like Zephyr Crew hasn't been the guy at some points this year. It's not like it's a 2-quarterback system all year. It's like they don't know who they are in meaningful games at this point. They know they can run the ball with Cobbs. They know they got 7 running backs who touched the ball this past week. Byron Nelson knows who they are. It's Parker Almanza. How far can Parker Almanza get them? He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. They got Cooper at the running back. Cooper Kinnemeyer, I believe is his last name. Make sure I get his name.
They got Nolan
right.
Hawkins too at receiver. Hawkins has really impressed me at the times I've seen Byron play this year in the receiver position too, and he plays DB.
But Byron Nelson, when they get attacked on the lines, that's what Denton Geyer keeps doing. That Denton Geyer can get away with this. But when they can't anymore, it's going to look like North Forney. North Forney got away with Legend Bay and not having a passing game and just out-athleting everybody till they played Waxahachie, and Waxahachie wasn't going to be able to put up with that. Denton Geyer's kind of on that trajectory where they're about to hit their ceiling really quickly. It's not going to be against Byron Nelson. I've got him on the edge against Byron Nelson. But it's weird to see a team this late in the season still trying to figure out what they're doing at quarterback. It's like Alito made that decision 8 weeks ago. Okay, we figured it out, and they've looked great after that. Maybe if Denton Geyer had that knowledge, maybe I would feel a little bit better about him. But if Denton Geyer's got to throw the ball to win the game, they're not going to win the game. And I think that's when it kind of ends it next week. As long as they can just grit it out and just kind of do what they do, they're going to win. And I think they'll have the edge over Byron Nelson for that reason. But it's just, for me, from my perspective, it's just like mind-boggling that this late into the season, we don't know who we are yet.
Offensively, right?
Offensively.
I feel the same way about Ryan sometimes. I know what they are. Maybe it's Denton ISD. You know what they can do defensively. You're not quite sure what's going to happen on the offensive side. You don't know if you're going to get good Quinn Hennigan or bad Quinn Hennigan. Same with their quarterbacks over there at Carroll. All right, let's move on. Two really good games. And by the way, I'm very excited about the bottom half because Dixie, he ventures everywhere for games. He does. I'm proud of you. You do small schools. You do everything. When Plano East is playing, you ain't going down to Houston. And the Willis coach says, I have the best player in the state. And Dixie won't come down and see him. So I'm going to come up here and force him to watch. I'm actually looking forward to you on this next episode or Friday night on the Friday night recap show. Now that'll be a Saturday night game. So I guess the next podcast, you talking about Jermaine Bishop, because I've never got to see him live. I've seen highlights galore, but I was looking forward to seeing this until I was told I was going to Waco this week. I don't think I'm going to make it back in time. But that 40 with Notre Dame commit Javian Osborne against Willis and Texas commit Jermaine Bishop and a freshman quarterback that is really making some hay there in Lincoln Frazier. I'm really looking forward to that one. I actually think Willis is going to win this one because I don't think Forney's defense is going to be able to stop them from scoring. And it may be another one of, you see the 48-44 score, maybe something similar to that in that one. I don't know which side it's going to go, but I'm probably going to end up picking Willis if Gossett ever sends out a pick deal for next week. And you see how great I'm doing in picks, right? The trajectory is going down. What do you feel about that game without having seen Willis?
Well, a lot of people, they're going to have their analysis, and Step's going to be able to talk about both teams, and you're going to talk about Jermaine Bishop and whatnot. But the one variable that nobody understands is I have never been to a game in person where Jeff Fleener has lost. I'm going to this game in person. I am his good luck charm. I've never seen Fleener lose. That gets back when he was at Allen.
I was going to say,
Allen playing at East games.
Let me know how many games
I've never
that
seen
is.
It. We're at least at 15 now. I went to the Lone Star game last year. Remember, he coached Allen for a few years. So, I mean, they got their wins over Plano East back then, but that was when Plano East was playing Allen a little bit more competitively. Never seen Fleener lose a game, and he considers me his good luck charm. I told him, okay, this is going to be the game. This is going to be the week. Probably not going to go see it next week, but I will give it to you this week to get you there. I don't think they're going to have a really good chance against us. So don't want to ruin that. It's a little bit of mind play and mind games with that. But Willis, again, beating playoff Tomball 34-27 late. Give them credit for that. But when you're relying on, I don't care if he's the best player in the state. Allen's got a freshman who's got an Ohio State offer. He's not even seeing the field right now. So when you've got a player who's a freshman who most people consider the best player in the state, and he's your offense, that lets me know that your infrastructure.
Well, he's not a freshman. He's a senior. There's a freshman quarterback in there.
When you got the freshman quarterback in there, that makes me a little bit worried about your trajectory because, like I said, Allen's got a freshman quarterback who's Ohio State guy who's not even seeing the field in the playoffs right now. Willis is relying on
students at that school too. So,
but you can get away with that, especially when you get a player from McKinney who was all area coming in and it's got an FAU offer. But I just don't think Willis is going to come down here. Now, again, Forney has a lot of weaknesses. That's why I don't think they're going to win next week over a DeSoto team because that you look at that 48-44 score and it is frustrating because it was 35-10 at halftime. How many times does Forney ISD take a half off? And they did have the resilience to come back. And I think they're going to have one more week where they're going to just get by with maybe a 7 to 10 point kind of a victory. But Forney, just because they got Javian Osborne, he is the reliable. He's that security blanket that they need. They've got, they're going to take care of it. But I'm hearing from the Houston folks that they think College Park has a really good chance against DeSoto. And College Park coach came from DeSoto. He was the co-defensive coordinator, so he knows a little bit something about that culture.
He's got a state title ring on his finger.
He's got a state title on his ring. And right now, I feel like DeSoto works best with that manufactured chip on their shoulder. There's nothing here other than the fact that the coach knows them. Is this an upset trap in the making after they blew away Longview, danced all night long? They did the reprise of Get It Sexy after losing last year and being embarrassed by that. A lot of people are saying this is an upset watch.
This is an upset watch, but maybe I fueled them a little bit in our interview earlier this week, but I was like, boy, I tell you what, you always seem to go up against the flavor of the month down there in Houston because he did that with Willis when they had DJ Lagway for a couple years. I don't know. Willis got that new guy down there. Need to worry about him. And he was talking about it. He said, oh, yeah, they're the flavor of the month. Oh, we like that. We like playing the flavor of the month. Go ahead and take care of it. I know he's my buddy and all, but he's got to go down at some point. So maybe I fueled him into writing some sort of bizarre pregame speech to get him going. But yeah, College Park's good on both sides of the ball. They have excellent defensive players. They have a quarterback. They throw it all over the place. They got a junior receiver, Julian Cromartie, who's awesome. He's not Jermaine Bishop awesome, but he is awesome. Who moved in from, I believe he was out there at Modern Day, or somewhere in San Diego he moved in from. So that's going to be a fun one. My man Jeff Power will be at that one because it's apparently to him 2 minutes from his house. So he's all kinds of excited. He can just walk over there and maybe shoot from his backyard. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, I just have to say I am worried about this. I'm going to take DeSoto, but DeSoto played angry against Longview, and I loved it. I saw that this was the first time after that debacle in the first week where I looked at DeSoto and said that's a legitimate state championship team. I haven't believed that all year. I haven't believed it at any time until just the absolute dominance, the look in their eyes. Sherrod Baker, 370-something yards, 5 touchdowns, elite. MV him. He is the guy this year. He is the heart and soul of that team. And what I like about what DeSoto did is that travels in December. It's like they can just pound it down because this is not their best offensive line in the last 3 years. It's not their best quarterback in the last 3 years. Feaster is all-world. Baker, it wasn't even their best running back coming into this season, but he has got the biggest heart of them all. He has been fantastic, but I worry that because they don't have that chip on their shoulder and because College Park is a little bit of an unknown, do they come into this game flat? It wouldn't surprise me to see College Park up at halftime, and maybe that's what propels them to win in the second half. DeSoto should be a favorite in the game, but again, there is a little bit of an unknown factor. I've seen DeSoto, have to travel and lay an egg, if there's nothing there. So we saw it when they had to go out to Georgia. DeSoto should win, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was closer than a lot of people think. It's not going to be a 60-28 game for sure.
Right. By the way, the Willis coach Trent Miller told me, he said, this is 4 years in a row I've lost a coin toss in this round of the playoffs. I was like, you need to start calling heads, man. Stop with this tails nonsense. It ain't going to work for you. All right, let's move down to 5A, Division I. We got the rematch of Richland and Ryan, which Ryan took care of, but not with the style points that a certain person on this podcast would like to see. And there's our boys from Arlington Heights. Big win. Get you Alito, which is probably not going to be a big win. It's probably going to be a big loss for Arlington Heights, but they do get to play fairly close to home. They're down there in Crowley. They can get there and support this team. I would support them for sure. Round 3.
But you talk about look at Denton Ryan. I mean, Abilene was a top 10 team in the state. I don't know if I would have had him in my state rankings, but I don't do state rankings. 59-0. That showed me kind of Denton Ryan's ceiling. The Alito Tascosa game, it's a little bit misleading. It's a little bit confusing. I look at it, it wasn't impressive. But again, Tascosa plays the style of football where they can drain 4 to 6 minutes of the clock for just 2 first downs. It's like they don't even have to score the ball to take the air out of the ball. And I think that's going to make – I think it's going to be similar this week against Arlington Heights because Arlington Heights can run the ball, but can they run the ball for 7 or 8 first downs? Because a lot of those plays that they had against Lubbock Monterey, 50 yards here, 60 yards here, big pops. They're not going to get that against the front 7 of Alito. They're going to have to grind it out. I think they're going to be able to move the ball in pieces, but again, I don't think they're going to be able to put long sustained drives on. So I think it's going to be like a 42-7 game with Alito and Arlington Heights. But I'm not going to be worried about that just because of the style of football that Arlington Heights plays. And I think it's going to be a low possession game. That Alito game, they scored on their first 6 possessions. Then they called off the dogs. They didn't score anymore after that. But again, they were nearly perfect in that Tascosa game. So the game I'm really looking for, Alito cannot hurt their standing in my eyes against Arlington Heights. Even if they mess around, I don't think they're going to mess around too much, but they are Alito. They are who they are. It's got to be the Richland Denton Ryan game that is all that matters in what Denton Ryan can show me against Richland. Can they compete with Alito, because we saw Alito make a pivotal change in offensive philosophy shift that worked out phenomenally. They're going to be able to score more than 15 points this week against Denton Ryan. Can Denton Ryan respond? Quinn Hennigan has played great the last couple of weeks. He was like 17 of 20, 300 yards. And Trayvon Reynolds being back is he is the difference maker for Denton Ryan, because he's somebody who can take a little quick hitch all the way to the end zone. And that's what they need, because nobody else on Denton Ryan can do that, but he can. And now that he's here, he's healthy. I saw a highlight of him against this past week against Abilene, where he made something out of nothing. And that's what Alito is worried about. They're like, if he can do this, that's an answer. That's a question we don't have an answer for. So can Denton Ryan slow down Richland's offense that has scored 73 points over the last average of 73 points over the last 2 weeks? And oh man, Gibson is looking absolutely incredible. Jayshon Gibson last week had a combined 339 yards and 8 touchdowns. Would have paid to have that on fantasy last week. That was just incredible. But I think they're going to shut him down. I think they're going to give me the style points that's going to make me think extra long about my pick next week. Denton Ryan's going to win big, but will it be big enough for my happiness? I need to see them under 2 scores. I need to see that defense kept under 2 scores. And then you can mock me about, 20 points. Because if Richland can score 20 points, Alito's going to be able to score 20 points. And if Alito can score 20 points, they're going to win that game.
Yeah, because you don't feel like the offense is going to be able to get over 25.
Right.
Well, maybe I do think the offense can get more than that, considering they did last year in the playoffs. All right, let's move on to the other half here, Region 2. We've got Frisco Lone Star against West Mesquite, they were kind of outplayed offensively, and they still, or with the total yards, they still took care of Midlothian easily. But they have to head up to Lone Star. I guess they lost a coin flip there. They're heading up to the Star, where Lone Star likes to star out. And then Highland Park, a little bit of a slow start, but then they just bombed out Reedy. And Wakeland played in a barn burner against Cedar Park, got that win. Maples was throwing it all over the place. Does he have enough to go toe-to-toe with Huckabuck? You tell me.
Well, I don't know if you saw the bet, Ward, and if this happens, you're going to have to bring a camera crew out for this.
That's right.
But if Frisco Wakeland beats Highland Park, I have agreed that I will go next week and I will go do a spin-a-rooney dance move in a Wakeland jersey, because I am that confident that Highland Park is going to be dominant in this game. It's going to have to look something like the Reedy game, that 4 turnovers, just all kinds of crazy things. Cedar Park had their way with Wakeland for a good chunk of that game, the beginning. But the end, that's when Wakeland is so good at situational football. I even underestimate their situational football. They did it against Reedy. They did it against Cedar Park. Cedar Park was driving in the end zone, a big 4th down stop at the end of the game, and then they got just a couple of first downs to be able to run the clock out. They did just enough. That's what Wakeland does against kind of these middle-tier teams. They do just enough to win. Highland Park is an elite team that is looking to get into that next level, just like Lone Star. I think we're going to see big wins out of both teams. I don't even know if West Mesquite lost a flip as much as I think they maybe just wanted to play in the Star. I don't think a lot of people I think a lot of people underestimate that the allure of going to the Star for the kids, for the preparation, getting to actually play in the home of the Dallas Cowboys. And it's not that big of a home field advantage. I don't see you can go, oh, well, Lone Star's at home. That's a big factor. It's not like you're going to Highlander and playing a game with that kind of mystique there. So I don't think most coaches are scared of that. I think if they have the opportunity to do so, they'll take it for the most part. So Lone Star, West Mesquite, as long as Lone Star can keep the turnovers at bay, they dominated Georgetown in the fourth quarter. This game was a 1-score game going into the fourth quarter, but then they pulled away, and that's kind of what I wanted to see with Lone Star. Can they win in those high leverage situations in the fourth quarter with a sophomore quarterback? They showed a lot there, and credit to Lone Star for being able to do that. I think they're just going to be able to get out big on West Mesquite and take care of business. Again, 4 turnovers is huge. And they did that against QB2. I don't know if it was a situation where they got hurt, where Wendell got hurt or something, but 4 interceptions with your backup quarterback, you're not going to get that because if Lone Star has to go to their backup quarterback, they're just going to put Carice Hoyt back there. And it's like there's not going to be much of a drop off there. So Lone Star's has got more depth. I think they're going to win by at least 4 scores. I think Highland Park is going to win by 4 scores. So it's going to be, again, I don't know who I'm going to pick in Lone Star and Highland Park, just looking at it right now, because Highland Park has had some weaknesses earlier in the year that I think their competition has made it look better, but that still existed against Heath. Those things that we looked at earlier in the season don't go away. And then the same thing with Lone Star. They have some deficiencies that haven't gone away. West Mesquite is not necessarily going to be able to expose them, but I want to see that they can be consistent against a good defense, against a well-disciplined offense. Can they take care of business? So Lone Star, Highland Park, again, probably at the Star Award.
You brought that up. What was it? There was our preseason podcast. I asked you, and I actually brought this up. We're going to see an interview or a story on Davian Gross this week. I've been sitting on it for the whole season. Needed him to beat Georgetown for me to be able to run it. We are running it. But way back before the season even started in August, I was asking you what games were you looking forward to this year, and you said one of them you said was Lone Star Highland Park. And I was like, I mean regular season. That's like week 4 of the playoffs. So he's like, I just think it's going to happen, and that's what I'm looking forward to. He's also said Sock in the Argyle, which we'll get to here in a second. But Lone Star this whole year, though, has been caught in your style point vortex or whirlwind or whatever it is. They can't seem to get out of that thing. Are they out of it against Georgetown? No, because you said they had to do something. You're not going to give them nothing for the West Mesquite win. If they win big, they're supposed to. And if they don't, then everything's in trouble. So they're stuck in it until they win a state title. Then you say, you know what? That was a pretty doggone good team. That's my boys. All right, let's move on to 5A Division II. Let's take a look at these teams were we got a lot of 4 5A Division II teams. Anna against Melissa. Our boy Neil Beasley will be there. I believe he's bringing the boy with him, Major. Bringing his son Major out there to see some major football at Allen Stadium, Allen Eagle Stadium. Anna versus Melissa, round 2. Melissa took the first one, I believe, right? Or am I lost in that one? No, they did, because I'm thinking 2 years ago. And then Argyle's got Walnut Grove, which we saw last year in the playoffs, and Argyle just stomped them out. Will that be the same this year? They're playing at Choctaw. The whole Prosper ISD is moving down to Choctaw this week.
Just gonna rent it out and have a nice little Prosper. Not Rock Hill. Rock Hill has to watch from the side.
They have to drive the buses. Yeah,
they got to drive the buses in Richland. They got to bring up the JV kids to watch what it might be like when they get on the big stage. Melissa has just had Anna's number. Remember last year, Melissa beat Anna, and despite not even making the playoffs last year. And then Anna, they already beat them this year as well in getting their second place in the district. So I think Melissa, just like Lovejoy last year, it's going to be close. It's going to be that back and forth. Anna is a little bit more banged up than they have been in the past. Ziondre Williams, he is like Superman. He's magic, but I mean, he is not at 100%. He's just gutting it out. I mean, he's like at 90%, but he almost everybody is at this point, but it's like every game this year, there is something where he goes down, he's got to be helped off, and then he comes back in a series later, where it's just a little bit of a different level of banged up. Whereas Melissa, I feel, is healthier. They've got Brett Holloway, who's just playing fantastic, an unsung hero. So I think Melissa is going to win the rematch against Anna. Argyle Walnut Grove is a little bit different for me, but if you look at Argyle this year, it truly feels like almost, if you look at last year, every game has been a little bit of a glimpse into how they played. And Walnut Grove has kind of been the same way. I told you to watch out for that Seguin game because Seguin played them a little bit closer last year than everybody thought they would. Same thing happened this year. Remember what happened last year with that Argyle Walnut Grove game? I remember because I was there. Argyle got up on them 42-14 and coasted. So I think that Argyle might do the same thing again this year.
And I talked to Coach Rogers at the volleyball state championship, and he said the thing you need to keep an eye on is Watson Bell is now at 100%. So he's going to be getting used a lot. And I was like, what about Cam Newton on the other side? He's like, I don't know if they're going to give it to him Nick Ralston type of style 53 times. They may have to. So, yeah, they're getting healthy at running back, and Gasperson's playing unbelievable in the playoffs in the last couple games.
And Julian Caldwell, like all of a sudden, I mean,
Yeah.
he's been good for 5 catches, 70 yards, consistently. But all of a sudden, he is taking it up to the next level in the playoffs, making big catches. And we always knew he had the talent to be the deep threat. But Walnut Grove, who is that second person? Because you just gave me 3 or 4 people. This person, this
Mm-hmm.
person, this person. They're getting healthy. It's Cam Newton. Even Hayes Hackney has been a little bit banged up. He has, maybe having a little bit of a sophomore slump right now. But who's that third player for Walnut Grove? It's hard to even really name that player. Argyle, 5, 6, 7, Rexroth, Bell, Caldwell, Gasperson. I just think there's just too much depth with Argyle. I think they're going to win that game convincingly. Melissa Argyle, again, that's one that I don't know who I'm going to pick for, just because Melissa matches up very well with Argyle in all of the key areas.
Interesting. I think Argyle's on a mission to get to that state semifinal, and then we'll see what happens there. Here's a fun one: Southlake Cliff and Carroll out in North Forney Friday night, and then on the lower half you see Midlothian Heritage win a second time over. I don't know how many. Where's the record books at? How many people beat Texas High twice in a year that aren't in their district? Still not even in their district. That's wild. They're going to play at Port Neches Groves down in the Houston area. I believe that's in the Woodlands area. But let's talk about Southlake Cliff and Terrell. Besides Terrell not staying with them the first half, I think that's the key. First half, it's got to be 21-20 or something. It's got to be close. If they're down by 2 scores at halftime, fire them up. Fire up them buses.
I actually disagree with you just a little bit.
Okay.
In the I mean, the element of what you're saying is correct. I think they got to be up big on Sock at halftime, because I watched that Midlothian and Terrell game, and Midlothian adjusted in the second half pretty easily to the Terrell defense because they had the athletes to do it. It was like 4 3-and-outs, right? Bam, 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 bam. And it was ugly. And Midlothian Heritage kept working their way back in the game. And then Terrell got a couple of key first downs in the fourth quarter when it was there, but they still didn't score in the second half. And then I'm looking at Southlake Cliff's defense, and I'm thinking about how they compare against Midlothian Heritage. And down the road, Southlake Cliff is better in every key position. They're better coached. They're better, got more experience. I mean, that defense, and that's not even a slam at Midlothian Heritage. Southlake Cliff, Kyle Ward is one of the best. Like, he's just waiting for the right head coaching position, because he gets offered head coaching position year after year after year, and he's waiting for the right one because he knows his value, and he knows that he's not going to walk into a rebuilding job. He's going to walk into a position where, like, it's here for me. I just got to run the ship and win a couple of state titles here. He is a phenomenal coach. The assistant coaches are great. Southlake Cliff defensively is phenomenal. Jason Todd is a master class of a head coach, and he kind of reminds me, because obviously he came under the Reginald Samples tree. He's like the godfather over there. He just manages things, and he knows all of the right buttons to push with this team. I think Carroll, gosh, they're such a fun team to watch. The new up-tempo wing tee, the next level. Coach Sedbury, coach of the year this year with the way he's played. But even with that, they're not as complete of a coaching staff as what Southlake Cliff is. This is just where the rubber hits the road. Southlake Cliff wins big. I mean, I could see this kind of looking like the Lovejoy game a couple of years ago, where it's like 40-0, and it's like, okay, Southlake Cliff has transformed into that next level. A lot of Terrell fans have been barking on the social medias, very excited about this team, and they deserve to be excited about this team. But Southlake Cliff is not going to give up more than 21 points to Terrell, and you can see what Southlake Cliff continues to do. So Southlake Cliff has got to have a game. If you're a Terrell perspective, 3 turnovers, get up early and hang on, because Southlake Cliff is going to adjust to the offense. If they don't adjust from the immediate offset, I think they have a really good chance to shut it down quickly, and Terrell's going to be looking at like 100 yards going into the fourth quarter before Southlake Cliff kind of pulls off the dogs. What can Terrell do? I mean, that can against the Southlake Cliff defense is the question. My answer is not much.
Not much. Well, one thing I hope, you bring up that Lovejoy. I sure hope there's about that same level of give up, and I don't think there will be in Terrell. I think they'll fight to the end, but yeah, they can't. If they get the ball first, you better score first. That's all I'm saying. You better match them. What do you think about this lower half? Port Neches Groves is close to the Houston area, but we don't claim them. We might claim them if we lose everybody by the time it gets to the state title games, but we don't claim them now. I know their quarterback's banged up. and Midlothian Heritage is on a high. Can they stay on that high?
I wish I did Houston stuff because you think him and I fight right now on the air at times when we talk about style points or whatnot. We would have P&G as a Houston area team. I would be fighting him every week, and I'd be hearing about Beaumont and this and that. And I tell you,
B&J and Malakoff for your squad.
I don't care about Beaumont at the end of the day. That's like Sherman. Sherman's got a TV station. That don't impress me much. We're still going to talk about Sherman and Denison and Pottsboro and all that just because you have a TV station and you whine about it on social media. Doesn't make me feel a certain way. P&G, from everything I keep hearing, the loss of their quarterback is big, but then I look at the fact that they scored 9 touchdowns against Dennis and shut them down. It sure doesn't look like it impacted them. So I don't think it's going to impact them against Midlothian Heritage. It probably will have a noticeable impact next week, but I think P&G will advance to SOC. But SOC is just going to be doing this. They're going to be like, we still remember those state championship games. Yeah. We still have a little bit of a lick back to give you. We weren't happy last year. We got a little bit more to give you. And again, I do think we're going to have a Sock Argyle most likely state semifinal just because these are teams that have been there and understand it with coaches that have been there and understand it. I mean, it seems almost I'm trying to think of a big word right now, like sanctimonious, that we don't talk about Coach Rogers at Argyle even more.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he's one of the winningest coaches in the history of high school football, and they stay under the radar for some reason. It's just like we talk about Gaspers and we talk about this and Caldwell and whatnot, and Bell getting healthy, but this is a master class of a coach over there who only knows how to win. So I know he's thinking ahead and thinking of looking at sock tape, just like Longview had scouts at all the games for the last 13 or 14 weeks. They're thinking about it right now as well.
Yeah, try to figure them out, man. Because it should be a good one. Hopefully the weather won't be a factor like it was a couple of years ago. I know it was a foggy, misty day when they played. I think it was at Northwest, to be honest with you. All right,
was it Crowley ISD?
Was it Crowley?
I think so. I was trying to wonder why they played there. I guess it was like the intersection of the triangle.
I know Denton Ryan played Alito there. Everybody loves that stadium, so I like it too. So I'm not going to say nothing. What do you think about Stephenville here? So Stephenville, they get the big win as we thought, and they're probably going to get a big win here against Randall. Down the road here, we're looking at West Plains. We're looking at Salina. Is this our state title team here? What has to happen for them to win a state title?
I actually modified the spreadsheet. I got a little bit of feedback on social media, and I think it's important. I want everybody to see this. We got Canyon, West Plains High School is part of Canyon ISD, and Canyon Randall. Canyon ISD is playing some really good football as a metropolitan area, a suburb of Amarillo. To have 3 teams in that ISD, I don't know how Katie's doing. I don't know if Katie's got 3 left, but there are not many ISDs that have got 3 schools left.
2.
Prosper's got 2, Denton's got 2, but Canyon's got 3. So, I mean, this is a really good ISD. It's going to be a battle. West Plains, Stephenville, we're just waiting for it. I do think West Plains and Stephenville is likely the state championship game. I know Salina will have something to say about it, and Salina will get to give their opening speech when it comes to that. But, man, Stephenville, just look at what they did to Dumas after Dumas got 83 the week before. Right. Stephenville is just playing at an awesome level right now. And, again, that's why I'm talking about the style points, because if Stephenville won that game like 55-42, we'd be a little bit more concerned. But Stephenville, dominant, week in, week out. Yeah, you might get a little overlooked, kind of like we're doing with Argyle right now. But again, it's just effective.
They'll bring their little cans. The cans will be there all the way to state, shaking them till I go deaf. But I still like the support they give them. All right, tell me about Springtown and Alvarado, because they were both in doozies of a game, really humdingers of games last week. And we had cameras at both of them. We were, happy to see Springtown go on and Alvarado go on, and they're facing each other now. What's your thoughts there? Because Pat liked it so much, he's going to head out there. It's his big game Friday. I believe they're playing out in Eagle Mountain. It's going to be one of those. Everybody from every person from town's going there. So make sure you lock your doors.
And everybody's excited about getting to play at that stadium. I guess they're going to get to show it off. You'll get to show it off on the camera crew, because it's a beautiful stadium. But they wouldn't let it be used until Eagle Mountain lost, as we'll see. Eagle Mountain did lose this past week, so they're opening it up, and Springtown and Alvarado are going to christen it. Man, there were some really smart people who thought that Sulphur Springs was going to beat Alvarado. I just thought Alvarado's offense was going to be too much with Belton and the quarterback, and they did. They got up on them, and they just went score for score, and Sulphur Springs could never get that stop. Whereas Springtown, that game was a little bit of a different projection because Panther Creek got up early on them by 2 scores, and then Springtown scored 5 scores late, and then Panther Creek tried to come back late, and Springtown was having none of it, and were able to hang on. Alvarado, I just think is going to have too much for Springtown. Springtown played that Panther Creek team, and I think you talked about Donovan Webb was banged up, or
Yeah, he didn't play.
He didn't even play. So Panther Creek has been kind of dealing with injuries all year. Springtown, Cane Hill is incredible. The Porcupines play a fun offensive style of football, but they can't stop anybody. Alvarado has the perfect offense to go blow for blow with that. I think Springtown is going to make a couple of mistakes. Alvarado is going to win, I think, a 63-49 game. It's going to be fun. It is going to be intense, but give it to the Indians. And I think Alvarado has a really good chance to upset Salina next year.
Yeah. Have you DeMarcus Belton? He's a senior, right? Yeah. Have you seen him before?
I saw him last year because he was part of the.
Okay.
He was the left punch to the quarterback's right punch last year, and he was incredible last year. And their quarterback this year has played incredible as replacing him. I can't think of his name last year. The quarterback for Alvarado.
Yeah, but he was. Too.
But I mean, he was awesome.
Right. Well, Neil Beasley got a chance to interview him, and you say he's a senior. He looks like he's a 7th grader. He's got the babiest face you ever did see, but he's a good interview. So congrats to that.
Cartier Collier.
Collier is the guy. Collier. Yes, Cartier Collier. Salina Decatur, you got Salina winning this one.
Yeah, pretty big. I mean, Decatur played Springtown within 3 or 4 scores. Decatur dominated Paris. We haven't really had a chance to see Salina, the impact of all of the stuff that's happened, because they haven't really had to play a solid, 4-quarter game after the Sulphur Springs thing. Decatur will push them to a 4-quarter game. I don't think we're going to be seeing the JV playing in the second half, but Salina should still win that game comfortably. Kind of a very similar to the Paris score, maybe 42-21, 49-21. I just don't think Decatur's got enough punch. I got to watch a little bit of the Decatur-Paris game on the online feeds, and Decatur, they're just not big. Salina is big, dominant. I don't think Decatur's going to be able to match up on the lines.
Gotcha. All right, 4A Division II, we got Brock and Seminole. We got Greenwood against Graham. Your thoughts on these games? Brock keeps on brocking. They keep rocking. Rock.
They do. And one thing that I've always kind of noticed in covering games, because I don't get to see Midland, Greenwood, and Dalhart and Shallow Water and Bushland play, so I kind of have to watch box scores and trends and computer polls. And it always feels like the West Texas teams, when you look at the computer polls, are always about 10 points higher than they actually are when they play DFW schools. So when they start to have to actually play DFW scores, you can kind of say, okay, well, if they're a 5-point favorite, they're probably really a 5 to 7 point underdog when they're having to play the DFW area schools. Greenwood right now is actually a computer favorite over Brock. And you can kind of see when they played Eagle Mountain, they beat Eagle Mountain worse than Brock did. Midland Greenwood might be the exception to that rule this year, because they are a really good, really dominant team. So now we're going to have like a couple of dress rehearsals, because we got to see Brock play Graham. We got to see Brock play Eagle Mountain. We saw Midland Greenwood beat Eagle Mountain worse than Brock did. If Greenwood can beat Graham worse than Brock did, I think we got to put that game on upset watch.
Yeah, you might be picking that joint.
Yeah.
You might be picking some Greenwood. Interesting. I'm going to pencil that one in.
We also have blue jerseys, ironically. It's like the Yellow Jackets have their orange.
Yeah, at least they have home and road. I went to the volleyball state title. If your team's wearing black, the other team's wearing black, it don't matter. There is no road uniforms. Black on black, obviously there's a net in between them so you can tell who's on what team, but still, let's get some road uniforms. Shall we?
Credit Seminole. I just beating Glen Rose. I didn't think that would happen.
I didn't think that was going to happen either.
But Brock will take care of that. That's kind of the end of the road.
I think Sunnyvale Athens is going to be an entertaining game. Case of Maupin kind of did it on the ground this week against Van. They went up 56-28, and then an early Christmas miracle gets Pleasant Grove and Carthage up in McKinney. So that's a short drive for the Digster to go up there and see some East Texas squads duke it out.
Yeah, I don't have a pick in that game. I mean, it's too close to call the
It
computer
is too
polls. I'm
close.
I'm going to dig into it just to have a pick, and I have to do it for my own pick 'em. I doubt Gossip will do it for our pick 'em. But it is that is the state championship game. It is Christmas
Mm.
present in McKinney for us. Pleasant Grove Carthage is going to be phenomenal. I think Sunnyvale, the way they're playing, I got the style points that I wanted to see against Van to put them over Athens. I don't think I've seen enough to give them the win over whoever comes out of this game next week. It is going to be an absolute classic with Pleasant Grove Carthage. I'm leaning Pleasant Grove right now just because Carthage has shown me some defensive deficiencies
Yeah.
that Pleasant Grove hasn't shown me. But man, Pleasant Grove already beat the brakes off of Sunnyvale earlier this
Yeah.
year to kind of give you a little bit of calibration of the difference between these two teams, at least the levels. We kind of talk about the levels in a district play. Right now in the state, Pleasant Grove Carthage are on a completely different level than
Yeah, I can see
Sunnyvale and
that
Athens.
when you say state title game, because remember last year they pounded Brock up at McKinney. Man, they like that stadium up there. That's the second time they've gone up there, but they pounded them there too. So yeah, probably will make their way all the way. Whoever wins that's gonna make their way all the way to state, as you said, and probably win that one. All right, Peaster. How long does Peaster survive? Is this their last week, or you think they can take out
They already
Vernon?
beat Vernon by 4 scores. I mean, this is a
Okay, well
rematch.
there you go.
But
What about the
Vernon
style
had
points in the shallow water, Joy? That's not
Vernon
very
had
good.
about 3 or 4 key injuries in that game that they got all those kids back. So I know Vernon has been waiting for this game. So this could be a situation where you see, hey, Peaster won by 4 scores in the regular season, but Vernon comes back in the playoffs, and you can kind of look at the injuries. I'm okay with the shallow water, with the 16-0, just
Okay.
because Peaster is not going to play a style of football where they're going to win 48. I mean, when we get to Region 2, we're going to see all these 50s and 60s across the board. Peaster Paradise, they play these games in the 20s. That's where they excel because there's only 6 or 7 possessions in a half or in a game. So,
Yeah.
21 is different. It's a different kind of a 21 than these games that are playing 15, 16 possessions in a game where they're getting 10 out of the 16 possessions. That's why they're getting 70. For Peaster, they got 3 out of 7. That's enough. That they scored on 3 out of 7. They're doing good. And again, I think Paradise has shown me enough to where I'm going to pick him over Jim Ned. Jim Ned has had a couple of questionable style point games in the last couple of weeks. That game against Bushland was a lot closer than it looked at times. I feel like the score might even be wrong. I could be working on a wrong score with that. I have to double check that. My brain just tells me I think that was a 1-score game, but I could be wrong. But I think we're going to see Paradise Peaster just like I promised y'all.
Interesting.
And
All
I'm
right.
going to Google that real quick.
Yeah, give it a Google while we move into 3A Division 1 Region 2. Whitney and Pottsboro taking off. They took out the beast of Malakoff. Go ahead, tell me the score.
24-20.
24-20. And
So
then
that
that was a little bit off. I could have corrected it for you, but I chose not to, just to make
That's
you look
okay.
foolish on this thing.
Could have.
I had them out for you.
It was 21-7 at one point in the
There
game,
you go. At
and
one
then
point.
24-20. And that's what I was
We
talking about with the style points, because they played Boyd. That game against Boyd in round 1 was like 14-7, and then they scored 5 late, second half touchdowns to give a little bit of window dressing. But when you dug in a little bit deeper, it's like, okay, why is Jim Ned playing with Boyd, who's a 4th place team, that close, who had a tie for 4th place, and now all of a sudden they let Bushland back in that game. Bushland had a really good chance to win the game late and just couldn't make it happen. And now, so I don't like the Jim Ned style points. Give me Paradise, give me Peaster, but this is a fascinating because it's wide open
from you. I want to hear from what you learned from Commerce. Besides, you haven't seen nothing yet. Tell me about what you learned from Commerce from being at that game and your thoughts against them against Grandview.
Well, Commerce had 5, what I consider 5 turnovers. When you have a special teams turnover, when you have a fourth down turnover that just calls a turnover on downs, but the other team starts at the 5, that's a turnover at the end of the day. So what I would consider turnover, Commerce had 5 of them and still was able to beat a really gritty Pilot Point team 54-47. Grandview, we've seen them. They couldn't stop a cold this year. So I think Commerce is going to be able to outscore Grandview in probably a game where, again, first 1 to 60 will win that game. Whitney, Pottsboro. Remember Whitney and Whitesboro, the first game, last week was a 1-score game, and Pottsboro dominated Whitesboro in the playoffs. So I think all these boroughs, Pottsboro, Winsboro, Whitesboro, I think Pottsboro is going to beat Whitney going away. But I'm going to go watch that game with my own eyes so I can have some quality feedback for you next week about Pottsboro and Commerce, who I think both will win.
And where's that one at?
Melissa. Whitney and
Melissa.
Pottsboro are going to play
Kenny Neal.
Melissa.
Gotcha.
Which is really bad for Whitney. I guess they won a toss or something because Whitney's got to travel quite a significant way, whereas Pottsboro, just a quick jaunt over to Melissa.
Well, quickly as we go through 3A Division II Region 1, it would look like we're heading for another Canadian Wall situation. You heard of the Berlin Wall. Well, now we got the Canadian Wall.
We got the Canadian Wall. And I just keep telling y'all about it. Watch out for Wall. And look at Wall keeps continuing to do every week. Gunner's got to be concerned.
It's a nice, clean score right there. I like those 50-0 ones. All right, let's move to 3A Division II Region 2. You saw Leonard play Holiday, and now they got Blue Ridge, Gunner, and Henrietta. Your thoughts on these two? You still feel like Gunner's going to get through this one, but did Leonard impress you in any type of way?
Leonard's Jacoby LeCook was incredible. He had 500 yards, 6-7 touchdowns in that game. He had 6 touchdowns. Can't have 7 if you have 41 points. And he was the difference maker in that game. Blue Ridge and Leonard, this is a rematch earlier this year. Blue Ridge won that game 32-27. I think Blue Ridge is going to win this game because I think Blue Ridge beating Jacksboro was more impressive than Leonard beating Holiday. Blue Ridge is playing at a high level, but Gunner beat them both. Gunner beat them both convincingly. And Henrietta struggled in that struggled to get third place in that district, and we already saw what Leonard and Blue Ridge, who beat better teams than Henrietta did, to win. Gunner should be able to comfortably win this game. But shout out to Henrietta for getting this far. They're on borrowed time, but to get this far, practice after Thanksgiving, big win for that program.
That's true. Never forget that, playing after Thanksgiving. That's a huge moment. All right, let's get through some Region 2 stuff. Our boys from Corsicana Mildred couldn't make it through. Hamilton against Price Carlisle and Axtell against De Leon. Your thoughts?
De Leon, big upset over Frankston. It was with the Frankston Regional, one of my 3 or 4 regionals that
lost. Not only a big upset, they gave up 74 points to De Leon.
I missed I missed 10 out of 16 games in 2A Division 1, so I don't think anybody really wants to hear from me about this one. 3 of these 4 I missed. I had Alvord, Tom Bean, and Frankston winning. Hamilton was the only one that I got right. So Hamilton over Price Carlisle, and said to be the man, you got to beat the man. De Leon beat the man, so I think De Leon will beat Axtell.
They are the man.
They are the man, but I think Hamilton will beat De Leon to win to get out of the region.
Well, this is just go ahead.
And I was going to say, you will not see this spreadsheet anymore because Honeygrove, the last remaining DFW North Texas area team, lost. Now it's an East Texas bracket. We'll worry about that in the state championship. Joaquin, 2 straight years. I talked about it. Got him again.
Oh, dadgummit.
Got him again.
Munster taking on Albany and Lindsay and Collinsville. So that's 3 from the same district, correct? And they're going to battle it out to see which one of those teams, or is Albany going to come in there and just spoil the fun?
Albany, I keep talking about them. This is a school that has been there. They've won state championships in the last 5 years. They've been there. They finally got over it. It's a dangerous matchup for Munster. Munster beat them last year. I think they'll beat them again this year. Collinsville-Lindsay is a much more interesting game to me. I watched Collinsville play 2 or 3 years ago in Springtown. I think they played Holly, and they beat them pretty well. They're taking Collinsville-Lindsay. They're taking that game over to Springtown. I'm a little sad about that. That's not the direction you need to be bringing those games over. But I guess all the East Texas schools took up all the good Collin County schools, so they didn't have anywhere to bring them over for me, so I'm not going to be able to see that game. I'm going to have to research it a little bit more because Lindsay showed me the style points I was looking for.
Lindsay's been up and down in your book, man. They've been all over the place.
I'll tell you, if Lindsay if it's not in Gossip Pick'em, I'll probably take Lindsay and upset. If it's in Gossip Pick'em, I'll probably invest a little bit more time to see if I can really pick them. But they showed me the style points against Windthorst. But man, Collinsville looking good. I think we're definitely going to be seeing a District 8 2A rematch in the finals. But it's a really good district. We've been talking about it all year.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be fun. The whole week's going to be fun. Eating Thanksgiving turkey, going to I believe you're going to. Why don't you tell the people the games you're going to? All four of them.
I'm going to go to Carthage. I promised Alonzo because every time I go see Anna, they lose. So I'm going to give them a chance. I still think they're going to lose, but at least it won't be my fault if they lose. So I'm going to go see Carthage and Pleasant Grove. Then I'm going to head up north out to Melissa. I'm going to see that Whitney versus Pottsboro game. And I'm going to do the doubleheader at the Star on Saturday. I'm going to go see Frisco Lone Star in West Mesquite, and then I'm going to see Forney against Willis. What you talking about, Wardlow?
What you talking about, Willis? Jermaine Bishop, boy, we're going to get a full report. I want 4 pages on him with footnotes, all that stuff.
What makes him the best player? Like, I thought he was the quarterback. He's not even the quarterback. So what makes him the best player?
He's the receiver and defensive back. It's just because he's electric. Anytime he has the ball, something great's going to happen. And they sometimes throw him in there for some wildcat action. It's going to be fun because I'm not high on the 40 defense. I love Jeff Fleener as much as you do, but they're going to have to score because this is going to be a wild one, and you love games like that. There's one thing I know about you. You love 51-50 games.
And Forney has shown that they'll give out some second half points on you. And looks like Willis showed. I don't know why I got Waller in my head. Willis showed against Tomball that didn't Tomball beat Waller, and then they lost to Willis.
Yes.
26-letter W teams out of Houston area that just make the Wisdom, which is also a 6-letter W team out of Houston.
Oh, boy,
can't handle
them all kinds of confused.
Because you are the Houston Wizard this week.
And I'm going to be all over Waxahachie again. I guess that's my team. They're my new Plano East.
Well, where are you going? Since you said you're going to Waco.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go see that game on Saturday, Waxahachie and Cy Ranch. But on Friday, I'm going to see Fort Bend Crawford and Longview Pine Tree in a place that I've never been before, which is Groesbeck. Okay. So I'm going to see what a 3A stadium looks like in the middle of the Waco area.
The goats of Groesbeck.
My man knew already. But that's where I'll be, man. If we do the Friday night recap and I can make it back in time, I'll do it from my hotel, the TikTok Inn or the Ragtag Estates, whatever little cheap $20 one that I get, I share it with bedbugs.
We're going to have to fill time together on Friday because it feels like we're going to have like 20 games to talk about. So that'll actually give us a chance. It'll be like the dump light on Friday night.
There you go. We'll discuss it and we'll preview some of the Saturday stuff that's going on. All right, brother. I'll catch you next week.
Still mad at you about trying to shoot down my style points.
I don't like it still. We'll argue in the middle of AT&T Stadium after Game 16. He shouldn't be the state title winner. They only won by 18 points. All right, I'm out of here, Diggs. We'll talk to you later.